Hi there, Frank Flegg here, founder of Ethical Property Partners. So a question that I'm being asked a lot at the moment from clients, from prospective clients, from even my own wife is, should we be selling properties right now or should we be buying them? And in this episode, that's what I'm going to delve into, my thoughts about whether we should be selling, whether we should be buying property right now, and what I am actually doing in my own property business right now about those things, given the unprecedented property market that we find ourselves in. So Warren Buffett says that when the whole of the market is doing one thing, we should actually do the opposite. So when the sheep are going in this direction, we should be going against the herd or against the flock. And I agree with that. That's where the biggest money is made. That's how people make their fortunes. It also takes a lot more bravery. It's a lot harder to actually do because you have to back yourself basically. It feels safer to go with the herd, but actually you need to go against the herd in order to really maximize. And that's why in recessions, people make a lot more money. Now, most people lose their shirts in a recession, but actually a lot more money can be made in a recession if you know what you're doing and if you back yourself. We are actually in a recession, but a recession like no other. We've got massive unemployment, we've got GDP lower than it's been for years and years and years, but we've got a booming property market. So what does that mean for us as property investors? What does it mean for you as an investor who's got your own portfolio? What does it mean for you as an investor who wants to keep building and growing that portfolio to give you a passive income moving into retirement or even early retirement? So for me, I've got a few things going on at the moment. So the first is we have seen sky high capital growth over the last 12, getting on for 18 months now. Unprecedented. We've seen nearly a 10% rise in the value of our properties. And for me, that won't continue. Now, I can't say that for sure, and I'll tell you in a moment how I'm hedging against that, but I don't think that will continue. And so I'm definitely selling properties at a faster rate than I've ever sold them before. Now, that doesn't mean I'm exiting the market, quite the reverse, but it does mean that I'm cashing in on gains that I've made over the last few years. So I started buying property in 2006. I properly started investing in property in 2009, 2010, and that was when I started buying numerous properties every single year. I've been investing for 13, 14, 15 years now, but I've seen a good decade of capital growth, albeit there hasn't been very much in the Midlands where the majority of my portfolio is based. But over the last year or so, I've really seen that ramp up. Now, it had been gradually growing since about 2005, so I've had 5 or 6 years of capital growth, but in the last year it's really hockey stick turned upwards and has been phenomenal. Because remember, if you own £100,000 property and you've got a £25,000 of equity in that property, and the property goes up by 10%, you haven't seen a 10% growth in your equity. You've actually seen a far greater growth. You've seen a 40% growth in your equity because your £25,000 is now worth £35,000. So it's actually quadrupled. So what I've been doing over the last 12, 18 months, as property prices have been going crazy, as my equity has been growing, is I've been cashing in on that. Not crazy, I've not been evicting tenants, I haven't been able to. I've not been putting properties into auctions, I've not been putting them on the open market, but I have been very open to selling property, and in fact have sold more. I've been quite vocal about how many I've sold over the last 12 or 18 months, and so I've sold more than I've ever sold before. I've sold to tenants, a surprising number of tenants. And why do you think that is? That's because tenants are going with the flock. Tenants are getting emotional about wanting to own their own property, about security, about safety. It's Maslow's hierarchy of needs all over again. Rather than thinking about financial investment, would this be a good move for them to buy now, they're thinking much lower down Maslow's hierarchy of need. They're thinking at the survival level of having shelter over their head, having security and safety. And what's the first property they think of? They think of the one they're currently living in. So I've been positively encouraging my letting agents to be speaking to my tenants about buying their own property, buying the property from me. In fact, we've written to all of our tenants saying, I'm looking to sell a limited number of properties, not to anyone else, but only to my tenants. If you're interested in buying them, please do get in touch. Because what I've found is our tenants are much less price sensitive than an ordinary buyer, because they're thinking they only have this one property to buy. The inconvenience and the effort involved in going and moving somewhere else is much greater, and so they are willing to pay a premium in order to capitalize on that convenience of staying in their own property. Well, staying in the property that I'm renting to them. And for me, it's fantastic because I get no void. I don't have to evict the tenants and have it empty while I do viewings and then have it empty while it goes through conveyancing. That can be a void of up to 12 months easily, very rarely less than 6 months. And so that can be thousands of pounds. That can easily be 5% of the property's value. And so by selling to your tenants, it doesn't really matter how quickly it sells. If it sells in 4 weeks, fantastic. If it sells in 4 months, no problem at all, because the tenant pays rent for that entire period. And if it takes 6 or 9 months, if the sale falls through, it doesn't matter either. And so I have been selling over the last few months. The reason for that is because I want a war chest to be able to buy quite aggressively when it becomes a buyer's market, because right now it's definitely a seller's market, no doubt about it. Properties are selling very quickly, people are paying over the odds. At the moment, I'm selling at anywhere between 105 and 200% of what a property is worth. And that's based on my valuations of the properties. Now, of course, my valuations are going up quite rapidly because people are buying emotionally. And so that war chest that I'm generating will enable me to buy more investments as soon as the property market weakens. Now, the danger is the market may not weaken. So I'm predicting that we've seen capital growth, and then that's going to flatten off, maybe even decrease. I've been predicting that for the last 18 months. What if it doesn't happen? Well, it may not happen, and that's the thing. You have to forecast what you think is going to happen and make decisions based on that, but you also have to recognize that you could be wrong. And for the last 12, 18 months, I've been predicting a drop in house prices, a bit of a cliff edge if you like, but the government's been proving me wrong. It's as if they've been saying, Frank, we're going to have a laugh with you. We are going to pump money into the housing market and we're going to keep it up. We're going to artificially inflate it because we don't want the country to feel bad about their largest possessions, their most valuable possessions going down in value. They have effectively supported house prices so that they've continued to go up. Because I'm not certain what's going to happen next, I've continued to buy throughout this period as well. Now, people have been saying at the start, for the 6 or 8 weeks that the property market was closed in the UK, people were saying you couldn't buy properties. Absolute rubbish. In fact, because people thought that you couldn't buy properties, there were very few buyers out there, and we bought quite a few properties. Then the market started picking up, and a lot of motivated buyers, the buyers we buy from often, were selling on the open market. So it certainly got harder to find motivated buyers, but not impossible. And so we have been buying throughout the last year and a half. So we're buying from a lot of landlords who are in their late 60s, late 70s even, who are just tired now of being landlords. Perhaps they've not enjoyed the last year, where they've had some home truths come back to them, realise that they actually want to be spending more time with their families, realising that they perhaps haven't got as much time as they thought they did because loved ones have passed away, etc. And have also had a year and a half where they haven't been able to evict tenants as well. And now we've got the whole breathing space legislation coming in, where you can't even contact your tenants to ask them for rent if they have arranged a breathing space on all of their debts. So, and what we're finding is a lot of portfolio landlords are wanting to hand over the keys to their portfolios, and we of course are more than happy to help them. So over the last 12-18 months, yes, I've been selling not loads and loads of properties, but one a month, one every 2 months, something like that. But we've also been buying properties quite aggressively as well. So over that period, my portfolio has definitely grown, but I've also got more cash in the bank, which is really important. Because of the sales where I've turned equity into cash, I now am in a position to either market more aggressively or to do deals that require some cash. We all aim for no money down investments, but for every one of those no money down deals, there's probably 8 or 9 that you could do with just £5,000 or 10 or £15,000 in order to give the vendor a bit of moving on money, or to pay for a refurb, or to pay off a small debt that the vendor has, etc. And so just having some liquid cash makes it a lot easier to aggressively buy if property prices drop. But if they don't drop and they just keep going up and up and up, which is entirely possible, then we haven't missed out. We've cashed in. Okay, perhaps we shouldn't have cashed in if properties keep going up and up, but because we've bought more than we've sold, we've still got a larger portfolio. We can keep buying. We won't buy at bargain basement prices, which is a shame, but that's okay. And we will just ride the next wave, because a fool tries to judge the market. I don't think it makes me foolish to try and predict what's going to happen next. I'm all for making predictions, but it's a fool that then bets the farm on that prediction coming true. So I can't tell you if property prices are going to drop in the next 3, 6, 12 months. No one can tell you that. And so what you have to do is you have to invest as if the market's going to keep going up, and invest as if the market's going to plummet. And that way you're not going to be disappointed. And a sophisticated property investor will make money regardless. So long as the market is changing, and we've got massive change at the moment, sophisticated property investors make fantastic money. The hardest environment for us is a stable one. When the market's rapidly changing as it is now, it's fantastic for us because we're at the cutting edge and we know how to help people with their property problems, how to monetize properties where other people fail, and how to build portfolios using little or none of our own money. Guys, I hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you have, please click on the notification bell so that you hear every single time we have an episode. Please hit the subscribe button. And if you would like me to present on a topic that you want to find out about, perhaps you've got your own portfolio with a problem that you're wrestling with, perhaps you've got an opportunity for a deal. If you would like me to do an episode on one of your questions, just pop it in the comments. All of our YouTube comments get read. My team go through them. They give me the questions that they think I can present on to answer, and I will do an episode especially for you on your comment. Guys, until next time, happy investing.